Hi, it's Linda. I'm in my studio and it's raining really hard, so you might be able to hear that outside. And I thought it might be interesting to make more of these videos where I talk about the whole process, the decisions that go behind every step. And this painting goes through a lot of different changes. So let me know if you have any questions. You can leave them in the comment section, and I hope you enjoy this video. I'm starting with a canvas that has already been primed with gesso. And my first step is I'm going to tone the canvas. The reason I do this is because I don't like to start with a stark white. Usually I like to start with a mid value. This allows you to work from the middle out. So you can start with light marks in the beginning or dark marks in the beginning, or both. In all my work, I'm usually striving to have a full range from light to dark. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you see I don't always play by this rule. I break this rule. Sometimes I might start with a light value, but I always tone the canvas. I don't leave it white. So if I'm starting with a light value as the background, I'll make it like an off-white or a light gray. I'm going to use the window squeegee to do some scrape painting. I have a video, if you're interested, on scrape painting where I show some other tools that you can use. This one works really well. It's not an artist tool, it's just from the dollar store or the hardware store. I let that layer dry. You can see I have my hair dryer handy. And now I'm creating a transparent layer with high flow acrylic paint and a little bit of water. You don't see off camera I dip my brush in water. The idea here is that where the paint goes over the white, it's going to read lighter than where that transparent layer goes over the blue. I have a video about this if you're interested in this technique. It's called two-toned acrylic painted papers. So here you're not really seeing the two-tone yet, but at the end, I take a rag and I rub back into it, rubbing off some of the paint, and then you'll see the effect. I use my hair dryer to dry that layer before moving on. The next layer is more scrape painting, but with a little more intention. I kept the scrape painting just to one area. So by creating this line, I don't want it to be straight in the middle, but I'm creating these two different areas. I ended up taking the top area, giving it another layer of the transparent blue. I let that area dry, and then I'm still playing with this line down the middle, or not quite in the middle, but this division, and I add some white paint along that line, and then I use a subtractive technique. I'm using a rubber spatula to remove some of the areas. So while it's wet, I'm just taking some of the paint away, but I'm paying attention to the forms on the other side of that line, which gives it this cool positive negative space treatment. So this looks kind of cool. It looks like teeth or glaciers. Not glaciers, icebergs, you know, above the surface of the water and below the surface of the water. But it doesn't have enough contrast for me. So I mixed another transparent layer. You can see I added water to this. I'm using high flow acrylics, but it's the blue, which I'm not sure what blue that was, phthalo blue, mixed with a little bit of black. And here I go with some more scrape painting. In this canvas, I'm definitely loving the texture that I'm getting with this technique. I realized watching this and doing a voiceover that I really cover up a lot of stuff early on. And then as it moves, you know, just forward, I tend to refine it as I go. So in the beginning, it's just like, if it's feeling too quiet, too predictable, I want to mess with it a little bit. So at this stage, I take it to the easel and work a little bit of my line work. These forms have come out of my marker drawings, where I work on painted papers with oil-based markers. I have a video about that if you're interested. So I call them doodles sometimes, or drawings. And these forms remind me of nature. So they look like petals or seed pods or rain droplets, but I really just go freeform with it. And I'm using high flow acrylic paint from Golden. I like to use this technique in a few areas, but not completely covering the whole surface. And usually I like to vary the scale. So now I feel like this part of the painting, this black drawing that I just added, is you know, really pulling your eye straight to the first layer, you know. So I want to push it back a little bit. So I do some transparent blue on top of it in the scrape painting technique. Because this layer is transparent, I'm not really losing any of the drawing. I'm using some more of the high flow acrylic to fill in some areas around that drawing to create depth. It helps the drawing itself stand out by painting around it. And I also went heavy on some lines around it and created some geometry, some straight lines that contrast with the organic forms. So here I can really start to see a separation between these layers. The layer that the black is on is above the layer of the blue and the white, and the drawing looks like it's cut out of this black layer. I'm using a spray paint that is called, the color is called stainless steel, and it's a little more transparent and more reflective than like just a silver spray paint would be. I think I bought it accidentally and I like using it, but it doesn't necessarily do what you think it's going to do. So it gave it kind of this fuzzy type of feeling, but you'll see later when I lay it down on the table, how reflective it is. It's very cool. I like using spray paint because it lends like a street art vibe to the piece, but also what I love about graffiti is the irreverent layers, you know, where somebody just comes along and tags something. So I'm not trying to be precise with this spray paint. In this next layer, I'm going to be using a monoprinting technique. I also have a couple videos about monoprinting with acrylic paint, but recently I started using this in my paintings. I'm just applying the paint on palette paper. You can use other papers like craft paper or you know, a roll of wrapping paper even to transfer the print. So I roll the paint onto this palette paper, then I'm scraping a drawing into it with a rubber spatula. I'm sorry this is a little bit off camera, but what I'm thinking is using a drawing of similar forms that the black ink work is done in, or the black line work, but changing the scale, so I've blown it up. And it's going to look very abstract because it's printed. I decided to take my brush and the high flow acrylic and go back and bring some of this drawing back to the forefront. And then the very last step that I do off camera is before this paint dries, I rub some of it off. Now at first it's beating up a little bit and it looks cool, but at the end of the video you'll see it's very much to the forefront. So that's why right before it dries, I take a rag and I rub some of it off, which just stays there in like a ghost form. It looks, you know, eroded. I titled this painting Urban Growth. The spray paint kind of makes me think of graffiti and urban, and the natural forms are how nature tends to take over dilapidated areas of the city. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and right next to the subscribe button you can hit the bell so you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching.